This is a story about a 1920s murder mystery that began right here in West Palm Beach. The question you need to ask yourself, did Lena Clark get away with murder? Lena Marietta Thankful Clark was an intelligent young woman born in 1886. Her father, the Reverend Almond Taylor Clark, was a nationally known theologian. Her sister Maud was the West Palm Beach city librarian, and sister Susan and family were the first florists in Miami. The family was from Vermont and lived on Poinciana Street, later known as Dixie Highway. Lena worked for more than a decade at the West Palm Beach post office, where her brother, John Paul Clark, was the postmaster. John met a bizarre death on Christmas Day 1920 when he died of a coral snake bite. He was a taxidermist and snake charmer and quit the post office in 1918 due to hearing loss. After the subsequent postmaster resigned in 1920, local businessmen circulated a petition to have Lena Clark appointed postmistress. It was quite an important job for a woman at the time. Lena's life began to unravel after her brother's death. Post offices at that time took quite a bit of cash beyond stamp sales and mailing parcels, mostly for money orders, cash on demand, and war bonds. On July 26, 1921, Clark sent $32,000 in cash in 2 registered mail sacks to the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank for deposit. And that, folks, is where our story begins. Because when those mail sacks arrived in Atlanta, they were filled with mail order catalogs cut into the size of currency. Authorities immediately sent a postal inspector and questioned Clark about the theft. Here's where the story takes a turn. On Sunday, August 1st, Clark hired a driver, Baxter Patterson, to take her to Orlando. She checked into room 87 of the San Juan Hotel in downtown Orlando under an assumed name. She met up with a former mail carrier with whom she had worked with and had an affair. His name was Fred Miltimore. Later that evening, Lena Clark walked into Chief E.D. Vestal's office at the Orlando Police Station. She told that chief that officers need to go down to the hotel and arrest Fred Miltimore for the theft of the $32,000 he had stolen from the West Palm Beach post office. She mentioned to have drugged Miltimore with a morphine pill. The chief confirmed with the West Palm Beach post office that she was indeed the postmistress. So then he sent officers over to the hotel, but they did not find a drugged Mr. Miltimore. They found the corpse of Mr. Miltimore, having been shot in the chest with a gun lying nearby. With Lena Clark still sitting in his office, the officers relayed the information on Miltimore's death back to the chief. He immediately accused Clark of killing Miltimore. At first she denied it, but then did confess, yes, she had shot him because Miltimore would blame the money theft on her. Within days, Clark was indicted on charges of first-degree murder in Orange County. Leading up to the trial, her story became even more sensationalized in the press and her celebrity status rose. She received a lot of fan mail and flowers and even redecorated her jail cell. To top it off, she even wrote an autobiography from jail, which she sold through local newspapers for 25 cents. She recanted her confession and claimed to have no recollection of making it to Chief Vestal. She even took to writing poetry from her jail cell. Lena Clark's family hired 2 law firms to defend her. One, an Orlando law firm, and one of the more famous law firms in West Palm Beach, Chillingworth and Chillingworth. Both firms have settled on an insanity defense, and I'll tell you, Clark did a lot to support that case. Now here's one of my favorite parts to this story. She testified in her own defense. Probably a bad idea, because she sat there with a crystal ball that she gazed into as she was on the witness stand, telling of the 12 previous lives that she had lived. One, she lived in the Garden of Eden, had been the goddess Isis of Egypt, then Bernice, the last queen of the Jews, King Herod's wife, and then she had been eaten by lions. After that, she jumped forward many centuries, as she is with William Shakespeare, and that Clark even served as the role model for his Ophelia character in Hamlet. Throughout these many scenes, she claims Miltimore was there and always tormenting her in various ways. She also claimed that she would be found innocent and that this would be the start of her national career serving as Vice President of the United States and then President. She predicted that President Eugene V. Debs, head of the Socialist Party, would be assassinated, and then she would be president. She was examined by several psychiatrists, and when they were called and testified as to her mental state, Two of them actually found her to be insane, while one of them thought the whole thing was a clever ruse. The all-male jury deliberated and came back in less than 3 hours with their verdict: not guilty by reason of insanity. The judge committed her to the Florida State Mental Hospital in Chattahoochee. She proclaimed to the judge that she would rather have been sent to the gallows than to a mental hospital. Her stay at the hospital was remarkably brief, and by 1930 she was living with her sister Maud and her 88-year-old mother Marietta at 414 Banyan Boulevard here in West Palm Beach. She lived to the ripe old age of 81 years old and is buried in Woodlawn Cemetery right here in West Palm Beach. I think Lena Clark took to the grave her true motivation for killing Miltimore. Was she a spurned lover? Did her mental illness finally break through? It's difficult to rationalize someone's mind with such narcissistic and sociopathic tendencies. Mental health was less understood back in the 20s, but Clark's demons went untreated all the way to her death. Thank you for watching our video. For more videos like this, hit subscribe and click the bell button below so you'll be notified of any new videos.